it's just so special for our club, mate, our club.
Lastly, after 57 years of pain, it's coming home.
Hey there, TJ here, and welcome to Yeah The Dees, where I'm going through our very perplexing round 5 loss against Essendon for the gather round at Adelaide Oval in Adelaide. Very disappointing game, this one to watch. It was a performance that we haven't quite seen for a long time from the Dees, where we were just out-coached more than anything, and just looked completely lost, especially down back, so it was quite sad. We did have some good news during the week with Trent Rivers extending for 4 years and Judd McVeigh also extending his contract as well, which is fantastic to lock in, especially considering that they're WA boys. Now, the team selection for this week wasn't too bad. Obviously, Jake Lever going out wasn't ideal. Ben Brown was a late withdrawal, but I also think that he was not really going to be there anyway. It seemed to throw a lot of the balance of the team off. So it was quite frustrating this first quarter, with Essendon getting on top and dominating in possession and kicking 5 goals for this quarter. 2 of them directly from free kicks that Adam Tomlinson had given away. So he had a really rough start to the game, and it didn't really get much better, and he ended up giving away quite a few more goals as well. We struggled to find our forward targets early. We had a few better sort of connections a little bit later, where Cozzy and Bailey Fritsch was able to get on the board. Bailey with 2 in quick succession, which was quite nice. One of them being from a 50-metre penalty, which was definitely there when the guy came across with his arm and took off the back of the head. You just can't do that. So we didn't really have a lot of the ball. Essendon dominated possession in this quarter. Clary was dealing with a tag from Will Setterfield. That was one of the smart moves I found from the Bombers, was to put that tag on him. He only had the 2 disposals for the quarter, but it didn't really dampen our scoring too badly. We were still able to get 4-2 on the board despite our poor inside 50s. To Essendon's 5-4, they won the quarter. Going into this game, Melbourne had only lost 3 quarters out of the 12 that we had played in the first 4 games, and we go into this game and we lose the first 3 quarters, which is quite horrible. We started off the second quarter not too bad, getting the first 2 goals of the quarter, so it seemed like we had sort of come back with a bit of momentum, but unfortunately the tactics that Brad Scott had brought in to help take out our danger players and run the ball through the corridor at any stage really helped. The way that they used their 2 ruckmen, which really started to come together towards the end of this second quarter when Andrew Phillips was able to get his second goal, really showed how much they were stretching Grundy and exposed us with only having the 1 ruckman. Andrew Phillips has done really well against Grundy in the past for Essendon, so he was brought in to negate Grundy, and it was a tactic that was quite successful. So yeah, they just got on a bit of a wild run towards the end of this quarter, and then that continued on through the third with us not kicking a goal at all, and the Bombers going on a 7-goal tear throughout this time. It is the longest I've seen us not score a goal for a very long time. And the rain didn't help as well, but yeah, just absolutely dominated. So yeah, we go on to lose those first 3 quarters of the game. We lost the first quarter by 8, we lost the second quarter by 9, and we lost the third quarter by 19. So that was definitely our worst quarter, and this made it very difficult to get back. I was happy to see that we did come back and win the last quarter by 9. It's good that the boys didn't give up and they just still put in the effort, and especially Clayton Oliver putting in effort, getting 20 disposals in that last quarter. After being held for a lot of the game, he only had 9 in the first half, and then he had, I think, 11 in the third and 20 in the last. There was a few things that were quite distressing in that third quarter. Wasn't really happy with what the whole Spargo incident. I think that's quite disgraceful from the umpire, not stopping the game to allow him to come off when he's clearly unable to comprehend what's going on, getting hit that hard. I can understand the ruling around him thinking that he's ducked, but when someone's been ducked and then concussed, paying holding the ball against them when they're not functioning mentally is quite ridiculous, and that just really stuck the knife in during that quarter when that happened. The way Sam Draper was able to sort of run around and get that confidence really helped spur the team, is a real barometer for them, and he bullied our fill in rucks when Grundy wasn't there. So in the end, we go down to Essendon by 27 points. It did get out to 42 points at one stage, so for us to peg it back a little bit with the last couple of goals is at least nice for our percentage. There was a lot of holding that they got away with. Sometimes that happens in games. I don't blame umpires for us losing. They're never really the reason why you truly lose, but they do sort of suck away momentum, and there was a couple umpires this game that I generally don't like umpiring Melbourne games, but I'm not trying not to shit on that too much. But there was plenty of holding on Cozzy and Oliver around the contest, which was really annoying. I think on top of this, we also sort of had a little bit of a bad run coming into this game, just being in Melbourne, then in Brisbane, then back in Melbourne, then over to Perth, then flying to Adelaide. A lot of people have made a lot of fuss about the players coming back on the red eye after the West Coast game, and that is, it got explained at the training that 10-year plus members were invited to yesterday, where they just said that a lot of the players just miss their family. They've just been away from them for too much. You know, they fly up the day before a lot of the time and come back, and they want to spend time with their kids, they want to spend time with their loved ones and things. So I have no issue with that. What I do have issue with is the fixturing from the AFL. I think it's really unfair. This is the first time that Essendon had flown out of Melbourne already in the first few weeks, and the fixture's not fair, and it needs to get fixed up, because having gather round over there and having this be the only time that we play Essendon is just wrong. This round should be something extra and should be something that people are going to, where it is a bonus game and it's not the only time you're playing a club that whole year, and we're not just the only team doing that. I'm pretty sure Gold Coast and Fremantle aren't playing anywhere else either. So yeah, just in summary for this game, I think Simon Goodwin just got massively outcoached. I think maybe we looked a little bit tired coming off this 6-day break. We've got 9 days before Richmond, and we've got all that time in Melbourne for the team to, really iron out some things and get set for that game. Now, these team stats really evened up towards the last quarter, where we were able to have a lot of the ball, but mainly what I think the big thing to point out for this game is marks inside 50. They had 15, we had 9, but it was 15-2 at one stage. They were just marking very, very well inside their 50, and that's not what we see in a Melbourne game. We don't see teams kick 100 points against us, and Essendon were able to kick 104. Yeah, it just wasn't very Melbourne-like, and if you listen to Simon Goodwin's press conference after the game, he does address that and the way that we played and the way that we did that, but I really find that the way that Brad Scott coached helped expose that from Essendon perspective. So Simon Goodwin should have been a bit more reactive and probably swung some magnets around and just tried to change some things up, because Adam Tomlinson was just having an absolute shocker. He had 3 frees against. I'm pretty sure all of them ended up in goals. He handballed the ball directly to an Essendon player who kicked a goal. He just had an absolute shocker. Stephen May, that was the worst game I think I've ever seen him play in his whole career. He's one of the best backmen I've ever seen. Really, really hard to pick out good players from this game, but the effort was there. A lot of players still really gave it a crack. It just wasn't really coming off, which was unfortunate. Onto the coaches' votes, and Zach Merritt and Sam Draper both got 8 each, and Christian Petrarca being the only Melbourne player to get a vote with 1, probably from Simon Goodwin, which means that the votes split up like this. As for my votes, I gave 1 to Judd McVeigh. Thought that he was probably the best in the back line and still seemed to have a bit of time when he had the ball. Gave 2 votes to Christian Petrarca for his 2 goals and just for his non-stop effort. Gave 3 votes to Clayton Oliver for just non-stop effort as well. 41 disposals in an effort like that after being tagged out. Only having 9 in the first half is pretty impressive. Gave 4 votes to Ed Langdon, who helped provide run down the wing and helped connect a lot of our movement. Gave 5 votes to Harrison Petty for his 12 intercepts. He was the only real player getting intercepts for the game. And then I gave the 6 votes to Jack Viney, who, whilst had quite a few turnovers and did bomb it in a lot of the time, he was the person that I felt was really giving us drive and just not stopping. Now, the Casey game had a much better result than the AFL game. Demons up by 40, kicking 12 goals 10 to 5 goals 12. And it seemed pretty even sort of throughout the early part of the game, and then Melbourne was able to kick on towards the end of the fourth quarter and run out 40-point winners. It was James Harm's return game after having some personal leave. Shaki played and was probably best on ground. Bailey Laurie had a really awesome game as well. Luke Dunstan was pretty good in the middle. Disco Turner had a really good game in defence, and Tajway Woden also returned from injury. So there was 34 disposals for James Harms, 33 for Bailey Laurie, 26 for Luke Dunstan. Shaki kicked 4, which I thought was really fantastic, and had some time in the ruck as well. He had 20 disposals to go with his 4 goals, and is heavily pushing for a spot in the senior team. Same with James Harms. We'll be definitely seeing probably 3 or 4 changes this week. Jake Lever and Michael Hibbard will be coming back in, and Simon Goodwin said that Max Gawn and Ben Brown will be available. When I was at the training yesterday, Max Gawn, Ben Brown and Jacob Van Rooyen all had some knee tape on, but were moving pretty well. Ben Brown looked a little bit stiff, but generally he does look a bit stiff when he runs around, so I would say he can coming back in. Based on form, you would say Adam Tomlinson would be coming out for Jake Lever. Charlie Spargo will be coming out with a concussion, and maybe Tom McDonald based on form. Jacob Van Rooyen's had a pretty good go at it as well, but one of them will have to come out for Max to come back in, and then also whether Ben Brown's coming in as well. So that will pretty much be the changes there. Yes, that's it for this week's episode of Yeah The Dees. Let me know your thoughts on the game in the comments below, and I'll see you next week.
And it's just so special for our club, mate, our club.
Lastly, after 57 years of pain, it's coming home.